tell us, fear is the greatest weapon that the enemy uses.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, part of toxic masculinity is that some men are afraid to commit, especially to relationships. So I'd love to hear from you as a single person. What is this fear of commitment, and how do you maneuver and work through that?
First of all, let me just say I'm not afraid of commitment.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Right.
Remove it from there.
Yeah, Mr. Right.
It's good to get it off there, but
Yes.
I think there's so much weight on men out here, like the like firstborn men. There's so much weight on their men taking care of siblings, taking care of their families, taking care of things. There's the pressure, of the men to be a leader. Some men have still not figured out their own lives, and then you're like, now I'm about to bring another person in my life that I am supposed to lead. I haven't even figured this out yet for my own. What the society is describing as perfect relationships, and then you look at them and then you're like, man, I don't even have money to sustain this kind of lifestyle. And so some fear is for legit things, and other fear is for things that you're not even supposed to fear. Some men are just still hurt, they haven't healed. There are some people like me as a kid. My dad used to say, you could hear him speak to other men, my son is so smart, and I lived with that. Nobody else could tell me I'm not smart. The superhero said, and some men, some guys heard from their parents saying, sijui atasurvive aje, sijui ataishi aje, sijui atakuwa mwanaume aina gani, and they still have that with them. And so as Percy said, you need community around you. You need men to speak out things in you, things that you are not even confident that you are. Nambia Danko man, the way you speak, you make people feel some type of way, and that's so good in you, as they are still calling you out in things. Hey, by the way, some men also, we short sell ourselves, and then you need those people who see more in you, and they tell you, they voice it out. Manze ukisikia uko like, some people don't feel like they're enough. If you have those people who tell, hey bro, by the way, unakuanga unaweza kwa hii sector, and so there is fear of legit things, and also there is fear of things that are just from the past. Some people have been influenced by, now, like for me, the way kitambo I was, because of the way my family ended up, the fear of getting into that and that happening to you. And we just need to know that our stories are unique. The way our stories will be cannot be defined by the way another story went. We have the pens, we have our own pens, and we need to work towards our story being different. Yes, that's what I would say.
Wow, and you're talking about just people hurting you. But what if this someone, the person is going through guilt, and maybe self-condemnation, and maybe they had something, they did something that they regret in the past. Either in their friendships, in their workplaces, or even in a relationship. How do you deal with such a thing? And to just add on addictions, maybe it's because I've been addicted on something for a long time, and I feel like this is what validates me, or when I do this makes me release and become the man that I want to become, or no one understands me. And so there's someone who's struggling in shame, in guilt, and self-condemnation. So maybe how do you maneuver that? If I can begin with you, then Danko.
I think what comes to mind first, as the gentlemen were talking about the different plans and what do we call them, like Maninav, the programs. Kwanza during COVID season, I was part of a program. Nilitumiwa tu link, nikaambiwa, Zoom meetings are starting this Saturday. It was on Zoom. If you want, you can join. At first I was like, all these platforms, all these movements and things that are starting up. But then I joined because the man who sent me the link. We are like on the same journey in life. So I was like, if he finds this meaningful, let me try and get into it. And then we go there, and people are, you know, opening up the things that they are struggling with. Married men were there. They are like, yo, young men, please, if you're watching pornography, stop. It never ends. I'm married, I have 2 kids, man, I'm stuck in these things. And sometimes I have hard disk hidden in my house full of porn, and then I have to find excuses for my kids and wife to go to the village so that I can be left, and then you are left wondering, wait, what's happening? And so I feel like those programs are important. And some people feel like they are alone when they have some struggles. And until you are in, you know, in a group of people who have similar or maybe even worse struggles, then you are like, oh, so I am not alone in this. And once you find out that you are not alone, the process of healing is even easier, because you have people to work with you. Percy said that you must get to a point where you feel like you need help, because there are people who know they are perfect. You know, this thing, I'm in control of it. It can never get me anywhere. Nikitaka kuacha naacha. You know, until you get to a point where you feel like, yo, I think this is getting out of hand, then you're in a position to get healing, and people can reconcile. People, kuna watu wana ego, they'll never apologize for anything, and this is for so many men, I think. And if you are suffering with guilt, I think there's a place for reconciliation and a place for forgiveness from God, and also directly to the person that hurt you. If you really mean it, I think it's possible, you know, to call people and sit with them and apologize for what you did and make amends, because guilt, by the way, it can be a barrier for so many people and to so many things. And so I think there is room for reconciliation, so that people can be able to move on with their lives.
For me, I think I'd say the number one fear of man is not that he is weak and he has no way out. I think it's that he knows he is more powerful than he can even fathom, but he does not know when to begin. You see, when I look at my life, the things that I was afraid of, or I have been afraid of, or I am afraid of even now, are things that cocoon me. I can't handle them. He started off by saying emotions, like not knowing how to deal with your emotions. So what happens is, an experience, you go through an experience and you feel like, I need to cocoon, I need to take myself into the man cave. We call it the man cave. And in the man cave, there's no one else, it's just me. You know, and you're trying to figure out things. Just look around and see, probably men that have gone through bankruptcy. You'll see a man who was flourishing, doing well, taking care of his family. And then when the money goes, he becomes, like he simmers down. He's no longer talking because he does not feel he has a place to talk. Even when men are talking, he's doing more of listening. He has no confidence in himself. And sometimes we are afraid because we think we are what we have. We are our abilities. Like, the very essence that you're a man is not enough. You have to amass. I have to have a beautiful wife. I have to have a beautiful car. Those are the things that define me. So my life has been sinusoidal. Like, I have had my ups and my downs, but the downs, the shameful ones, the ones that are painful, the ones that drove me into addiction, are the ones that are those moments when I didn't know how to sort things out, and I was not as enthusiastic to seek help, because I felt a certain comfort. The Bible talks about a time when David was in the caves of Adullam. Imagine where he started. When he was very young, he was told he'll be king. Isn't that all of us? When your father tells you, your uncle tells you, you are very smart. Your father tells you, you're going to be everything. You can be everything you want. So David is told you're going to be king. Imagine, mtu anakuja kinuka kondoo, alafu anaambiwa, you know what? Not your brothers, the ones you see towering above everyone else. It is you that is meant to be king. So that promise was already. Imagine, how do you walk after that? How do you even walk after that? Kifua, you know. But guess what? He spent a big chunk of his life on the run. To a place of where he was in the caves of Adullam, and there was hopelessness. And now hopelessness, it loves company. It loves company. So I get to a place where, because a man is result-oriented, and there's responsibility over his life. But once you meet a challenge and the barrier reminds you that, you know what, you're weak. So you start looking for things to hold on to, either addictions, and these addictions, what are they telling you? You don't have to take responsibility. Wake up, to relax, you're a man. Just go through it. It's life. You don't have to even lift a finger. So I got to those places and I found solace in the bottle, and I was like, you know what?
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. In the house, hey, chapaing your drinks. Boys call you Buddha niaje tokea. Kuna drinks. Kuja, takushikia, and you go. So you start realizing, by the way, in this space there's no responsibility. I don't need to take a stand as a man because you know what, alcohol is, you know, and that's what happens. So a lot of guilt, self-condemnation, and all that addiction. So slowly by slowly starts eating at you and creating a norm. So when you sit in forums where you're hearing people talking big, you start seeing them as the enemy. Like, we were there. You know, we were there. Watuambia nini sasa wewe, you get. So it's a sense of the enemy tries to make the man understand that, you know what, you don't have to have, yani usijali hata pale uko sawa. So you start feel comfortable in that zone, and you're destined for greatness. So the greatest fear of man at this point in time is not that he is weak or he has no avenue out, is that he has the power within himself, but there is no connection. Let me just say me, I didn't know I had the opportunity and the right to stand again and show my face in public as a man. Come back. So it was this man enough. It was my friends who I'd sit down with. It's now having a breed of young pastors, you know, like him, like sitting down with, hey, Buddha niaje, like I can be real with you, Buddha. I know in Sunday in church, kuna harufu Buddha, kuna harufu nambe Buddha, jana nimechapa machupa mazee. And okay, sawa. Si ati unachapa machupa, wewe utaenda kwa shetani. No, it's okay, sawa. So, Neza, how can I walk with you? How's your heart? How are you feeling? Like you're being asked questions that you're not used to being asked as a man. Because a man's question is, uko poa, niko fiti. But now, they deviate from such questions. They're asking you, how is your heart? What pleased you this weekend? What made you angry this weekend? You're like, wait. Those are more direct questions that actually move me from niko poa to I have to say something of substance.
To think around it.
You have to think around it. And so thinking around it means you're seeing your weakness, you're seeing where you are, and knowing that you can rise above it. So Mimi, I'd say I am where I am today. I'm not perfect. I'm not yet there. I struggle a lot. But I feel proud being a man because of the men that are around me. And you know, and where we are at, even as the church. As much as the church is facing condemnation, let me tell you, I would not be where I am today. Why it not for the church? Why it not for a pastor of mine who walked with me, rolling in the mud with me literally. Like when I was uko chini, he's not afraid to come in and get me. So I think that's my stand.
Wow. Wow. Patty?
I think the greatest fear for men is the fear of failure. Every man in their own mind and in their own image, I have never met a man who thinks of himself as a failure. Yeah? So, but what lies before every man is opportunities to fail.
All around.
Everywhere. And I think then the biggest problem became that as a society, we don't allow men to fail. You know, when Danko fails, I'm feeling like Danko is a letdown, as in, rather than being like, hey, Danko, hiki to happen, brother. Shikilia, baba, shikilia. Watu wanguka na wanaamuka. You know? So, that expectation, there is a key expectation out here that tells men, you don't have an opportunity to fail. You see, we only celebrate success, which is okay, but sometimes what it creates is a kind of a fear for failure, or a rejection for anyone who seems to be failing.
That's right.
That's why we celebrate businessmen when they're up there.
Wow.
The day their businesses fall, we are like, that guy is gone. Kusha. forgotten.
Yeah.
But you see, every person needs to be told that it's okay to fail. And that's why I believe there is more success globally on entrepreneurship now, because there have been more stories of people who came out and said, you know what, I started a company, I built it to this place, it dropped, I went to zero, now I'm back, you know.
Wow.
And now I'm doing $100 million, you know. As in, because of those stories, now they encourage people to know, hey man, I can fail. Yeah. And I don't think in the space of being a man, there are people who come out and say, guys, man, I failed, but now, you know, I'm back on my horse. I'm working on these things. And I think that's the biggest problem in society. When you fail as a man, you can't face your family, you can't face your friends, as in you feel like you're good for nothing. And the society doesn't make you even feel better unless you have few friends who like wanna go to battle with you and stand with you. It becomes very hard. And for me, that's the narrative we need to change around men. And that's why programs, as he was saying, that men do, I found them to be very powerful, because it's a space where you can find another man saying, I did this and I failed.
Yes.
You know, I have done this is the problem I'm facing. This is the repercussions of my decision. I made this decision. So even when it comes to relationships, the greatest fear is, I want to get into a relationship with someone and it fails. Yeah, and it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, and it's okay sometimes to understand that it's not all relationships that work out.
True.
But you see, the failure of a relationship doesn't define you as an individual. That's where you camp and die at. Yeah, and I think that's the problem. So the fear of also commitment in relationship, man. If you're on social media circles, the reality is your relationship has no future. You can't keep up with what is out there. That's the reality. Right. You have to experience another level of reality where people are real and genuine and tell you this is what we go through on a day-to-day basis. It's just 3% of people probably are living the online life. Yeah? But everyone wants to show themselves to live that life. I take my wife every week for, what is it called? Date. Yeah? We have a coffee date at the 5-star hotel, 7-star hotels, you know. We go for holiday every quarter of the year. Yes. Man, the reality in Kenya, that's very few people. Yes. Most of these people who are online showing us that thing is because they are being paid for. They're trying to advertise those destinations. The reality is that's unsustainable. But you see now, it becomes a loop-sided pressure where the ladies have this expectation and the men are unable to meet it. The other thing is the lack of commitment is we empowered ladies, we forgot men. Yeah? Men wamekuwa huku nje wakiambiwa pambana ndogo. Wewe ni mwanaume, funga mshipi, you know when my dad passed, let me tell you, this was like the rude shock of the century for me, you know, of all my life. I was just called by some, friends and uncles, and they were like, wewe ndio mwanaume, pambana ndogo. Ujue sasa wewe ndio mzee wa nyumba. And who gave me a manual? Nothing. So now I used to live, me, I was this carefree person, We decided to go preach in Mombasa. I just pick a bus, go to Mombasa and preach. And just call later when I'm halfway there. I'm like, I need to tell people I'm not around. Hey guys, nimeenda siku tatu, nitarudi. That's it. That's how I was. Now you're being told when you're mzee wa nyumba. You see, those responsibilities, when no one has defined them, for men, and there is an expectation that no one describes. And that's the thing. When most guys are unable to commit in relationships because it's so undefined. It's, we empowered the girl knows how to articulate her needs and say, but the boy was not empowered So the boy is left on his own. So when a boy meets with a girl who is well articulated, inakuwa kizungumkuti. Then you're saying, hey man, in the society today, we don't see our brothers. You see, if you exercise one hand, only one, you always go to the gym and you're like, wait, you know, and this other hand does nothing. Then you want the two hands to hold something heavy. When this one is unable to hold, don't complain. Yeah? Because you've been giving power to one side and the other side has nothing. And you see, and that's the loop side of about society. We empowered ladies and girls, and now men are like, we are so unsure about ourselves. We need to re-empower boys and men and tell them, guys, you're the backbone of society. You're the people we need. You need to take responsibility. You need to take your part. But even as you take your part, we understand the struggles you go through. The other day I was discussing with some people and I was telling them, we were actually having a meeting with pastors, and we were discussing how we deal with even incidences in church. So a guy sleeps with a lady. Most of the time, you'll hear the guy on the pulpit being, a pasi slept with a lady, and the lady, you'd never remember the name of the lady. The guy will be on Daily Nation, your local newspaper, your media outlet, your social media platforms of this pasi who did ABCD. And maybe he was entrapped into that thing, but no one remembers that part. The thing is, when a man fails, it's news. It's big news. When a lady fails, it depends. Ni hali ya maisha. And we need to change that narrative in how we look at challenges that face us, because that's now where we'll be able to tell men it's okay to fail and to get up and move on. It's okay to fall down and to stand up and move on. And these things will happen and have always happened. But to stop demonizing when a man kind of fails. If a family breaks, we always remember the guy, hey, nani? Hey, your familia nani? Huyo mse alishindwa kukaa na bibi yake. Maybe the wife was unbearable. Maybe, just maybe. You understand? And you see, and those are the things. We have to have conversations around it, you know, because situations are different for different people. And we can't have a common narrative that is spread for everyone. There are places where we have to deal with the pressures that are put on people, and there are places where we have to deal with individuals. And also teach ourselves to take responsibility. You see, the problem became, because I feel like everyone is going to blame me as a man, I don't take responsibility. I'm like, ni sawa tu, whatever. And that's why people will go, as he was saying, hide in those other things, in a bottle, in something, because I'm not willing to take responsibility. I'm not willing to admit and say, guys, you know, I was wrong, and I need help. The other thing is, based on that fear of failure, when men fail, we want to hide our problems because they define us as weak. So we acknowledging I have a problem, and that's why, as you were saying, someone will be addicted by something, but it's like, I have control. Mi niko sawa. Nikiataka kuacha kusmoke. Hivi tu. I'm in control. Do you know why? Because I don't want to admit my failure. Because if I admit, hey, boss, hii kitu imeniweza. Now, I feel like people will define me based on that situation. That's right.
Wow, you babes. Your last words as we conclude, because it's getting hot here. And we will come back with some other sessions. What are your last words to a man out there who wants healing, is hurting? How do I start it? Maybe there's not even that safe place for them even in the church. Where do I go?
Being alone is safe, it's comfortable, you know, but the way even God created us for community. You can't do it alone. My final words for a man out there is look for men, look for people to work with. Even you mentioned the story of David, and I remembered David thrived most of his life, and when he had men, when he was a warrior, he thrived. He had men around him, right? And then when he became king, now he's unreachable. He's now alone. That's when now he started even going and seeing Bathsheba, and falling. And when he was alone, things weren't going so well for him, And look for men to work with.